Move the presentation, we are excited to present a session titled The Influence of Maternal Mental Health Disorder on Pregnancy Outcomes, a Scoping Review. Today's topic is crucial because maternal mental health is deeply connected to the well-being of both of mother and baby. And we are joined by three wonderful speakers. Okay, our first speaker is Karita Aulia Tama. Karita is a midwife and alumni of Universitas Andalas, currently pursuing her master's degree in midwifery at Universitas Pajajaran. She is passionate about public health and actively contribute to community-based projects to improve maternal and child health in Indonesia. Our second speaker is Prima Kusrini. Prima works as midwife in the postpartum unit at Regional Hospital in Bekasi and is studying for her postgraduate degree at Universitas Pajajaran. She has special interest in reproductive health and mental health among mother and adolescents. Our third speaker is Husnul Fadilah. Husnul is a midwife and master student at Universitas Andalas, dedicated to improving maternal and child nutrition, lactation, and community health. She is also the founder of Pure Joy, an educational platform supporting mothers across Indonesia. And they will guide us through the key finding of the review and share insight on how midwife and health professional can better support mother facing mental health challenges. Before we begin, a few reminders. Please keep your microphone muted during the presentation, and you are welcome to post questions in the chat box during the talk, and we will address them at the end. Okay, without further delay, I'm pleased to hand over of the session to our speaker, Karita, Prima, and Husnul. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Fabiola. Hello and warm greetings to everyone joining from different parts of the world. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are. It is a great honor to be here today at the virtual International Day of the Midwife 2025, a meaningful event where midwives, researchers, and students from around the world come together to share knowledge, reflect on our practices, and inspire one another. My name is Karita Oliatama, a master student of midwifery from Universitas Pajajaran, Indonesia. I am truly grateful for the opportunity to present our review study, which focused on the influence of maternal mental health disorders on pregnancy outcomes, a topic we believe is increasingly relevant and often under-discussed in daily clinical care. Next slide, please. So I'm not alone today. I'm joined by my wonderful partners, Prima and Husnul, and also thanks to our amazing supervisor, Mrs. Corina, and together we will walk you through the key points of our findings. We hope this session will not only raise awareness, but also spark meaningful discussion on how we as midwives can better support maternal mental health during pregnancy. Next slide. Okay, throughout our presentation, we will walk you through our study's background, objectives, methodology, results, and conclusion. Our hope is that this study will contribute to a broader understanding of maternal mental health and inspire further dialogue and action to improve care for mothers and their babies worldwide. Without further ado, let's dive into a background of our study. Next slide. So here for the background, as you can see, we highlight two key areas, physical well-being and mental well-being. These two aspects are closely interconnected and influence each other. If a mother's mental health is compromised, it can affect her physical health and vice versa. Therefore, it is essential to address mental health issues early in pregnancy rather than waiting until after birth. Furthermore, maintaining maternal mental health during pregnancy is crucial for the early detection of postnatal depression. If left unaddressed, these issues can have significant impacts on both maternal and neonatal outcomes. By providing early intervention, we can improve health outcomes for both the mother and the baby and reduce long-term risks. Next slide. So up to 20% of perinatal women globally experience depression and anxiety, which significantly impact pregnancy and infant health. Unfortunately, these conditions are often neglected, especially in low resource settings where mental health support may be limited. Additionally, we still don't fully understand the psychosocial factors that could help reduce this risk, which highlights the need for more research and better care strategies. Next slide. So, this scoping review aimed to synthesize evidence on how maternal mental health disorders affect pregnancy outcomes and to identify psychosocial factors that may mitigate these effects with a view to guiding more holistic maternal care strategies. Next slide. Okay, for the method, for this study, we employed a scoping review methodology. This approach allows us to gather and synthesize existing research on maternal mental health and its effects on pregnancy outcomes. By using this method, we aim to highlight knowledge gaps in the field and propose future research direction to better understand and address maternal mental health issues during pregnancy. Next slide. So for the literature search, we use several key databases, namely PubMed, Google Scholar, and ScienceDirect, as you guys know. These databases were crucial for gathering relevant research articles, and we employed a combination of keywords and mesh terms to ensure a comprehensive search of the available literature. Additionally, we applied the PICO framework to guide our search strategy. So in this review, the population includes pregnant women. The intervention involves addressing maternal mental health disorders. The comparison contrasts outcomes between women with and without mental health interventions, and the outcome focus on pregnancy and neonatal outcomes. Next slide. Okay, for the eligibility criteria of our study, we focus on articles published between 2019 and 2024. Only English language full text articles were considered to ensure comprehensive understanding and accessibility of the research. We applied strict inclusion criteria to ensure that the studies we selected were directly relevant to our research question. So out of the 831 articles, we initially found only 15 studies met all the necessary criteria and were included in our final analysis. So for next. Okay. So for the identification and selection process, we use a multi-stage screening approach. First, we remove duplicates and then carefully screen titles and abstracts to ensure they met the necessary inclusion criteria. And then we excluded studies that were not in English, and then non-full text, non-primary research, pre-2019 or under 2019 year, or inaccessible. So our focus was on primary research that was directly relevant to maternal mental health and pregnancy outcomes. And then the Prisma flow diagram visually illustrates the selection process, including the criteria for exclusion. Next. So you can see here is the Prisma flow diagram, which is there are identification, screening, eligibility, and included. So the qualitative assessment cover result for 15 studies. Next slide. Okay, so for data extraction, we carefully extracted key data from the 15 studies we included. This data included the author, year, country, participants, methods, results, and database source. Next, we summarize the findings in a matrix table, which allowed us to easily compare and synthesize the information across studies. Then we organize the research questions and identify key discussion themes based on the extracted data, helping us to structure our analysis. Finally, we synthesize the facts, theories, and opinions from the studies to inform our theoretical discussion and draw conclusions about the impact of maternal mental health on pregnancy outcomes. Next slide. So for the data analysis phase, we identified the principal themes, patterns, and insights across the studies we included. This helped us organize and interpret the data in a meaningful way. So we followed a six-step process for data analysis. First, familiarization with the data. Second, coding the key information. Third, generating themes based on the coded data. Fourth, reviewing the generated themes for relevance and accuracy. Fifth, defining or naming the themes. And then sixth, reporting the findings in a clear and systematic manner. So this thorough process allowed us to extract meaningful insights from the studies and inform our theoretical discussion. Okay, so the next presentation will be delivered by my partner, Prima. The time is yours.
Thank you, Carita. I will present the next presentation. In this slide, the slide presents the general characteristic of the select studies with a total of 15 studies included. On the left side of the chart, we can see the distribution by year of the publication. The majority of studies, 60%, were published in 2020, making it the most productive year. There were no studies published in 2021, and both 2022 and 2023 contribute 6.7% of the studies each. Meanwhile, 26.6% of studies were published in 2024, showing an increasing interest in recent years. On the right side, the chart shows the research design used in the studies. As retrospective studies made up the largest portion at 46.7%, indicating that most research analyzed past data. And then prospective studies follow closely at 40%, meaning a significant number of studies observe participants moving forward in time. Only 13.3% of the studies using an experimental designs, suggesting limited use of intervention-based methods in the current literature. Next slide. Now let's take a closer look at how maternal mental health disorders can influence pregnancy outcomes and why it's important to reassess the pathway of risk. We know from research that depression and anxiety during pregnancy aren't just emotional experience. They come with very real physical consequence. One of the biggest concerns is that they can increase the risk of preterm birth when a baby is born too early and low birth weight, which can lead to long-term health challenge for the baby. But it doesn't stop there. These mental health conditions are often connected to underlying biological and behavioral factors. For example, change in hormones or inflammation in the body can play a role. And when you add behavioral aspects like insomnia, high stress level, or even neglecting self-care, this risk can compound. So it's not just one issue, it's a mix of biological and behavioral stressors working together. Another thing to consider is that not every mother faces the same level of risk. Certain factors can influence how vulnerable someone is, like their body mass index or BMI, the baby's gender, and even whether the mother lives in a rural or urban setting. Access to healthcare and social support system can differ dramatically between those areas. That's why we need to shift our focus from isolated treatment to something more comprehensive. And then a holistic approach, one that looks at the physical, mental, and social factors together is okay if we want to improve outcomes for both mothers and babies. So in summary, maternal mental health is deeply connected to biological, behavioral, and environmental risk, and our intervention must reflect that complexity. Only then we can truly support mother and give every baby the healthiest start possible. The next presentation will be delivered by my partner Husnul. Please, Husnul.
Okay, thank you, Prima. I will continue the presentation. When we talk about the maternal mental health, it's essential to also consider how the healthcare system itself either supports or fails this woman. Barriers in accessing care, whether due to cost, location, stigma, or a lack of trained professionals, can significantly limit a mother's ability to achieve timely and effective mental health support during and after pregnancy. In many settings, mental health is still not fully integrated into routine maternal health care. Women are often screened for physical complications, but not for psychological ones, even though mental health conditions like postpartum depression are common and can have serious consequences for both mother and child. Moreover, healthcare system often lack a cultural competence, which means that women from different ethnic, linguistic, or socioeconomic background may feel misunderstood or judged. This creates additional layers of stress and may deter them from seeking care in the first place. To make a real progress, we need structural change, not just better individual service, but a shift in how maternal mental health is a priority across the health systems. That includes training midwives and obstetric staff in mental health, integrating screening into antenatal visits, and ensuring that follow-up support is actually accessible. Ultimately, improving maternal mental health outcomes isn't just about treating disorders, it's about removing the systemic barriers that prevent women from getting the care they deserve. Okay, please next slide. And so far, we have talked about the importance of maternal mental health and the barriers that exist within the healthcare system. But here, we turn to a more hidden consequence, the invisible costs that arise when a maternal mental health issues go versus when these mental health disorders aren't treated, the impact ripple across the healthcare system. We often see a higher use of emergency services, increasing cesarean deliveries and more frequency hospital readmissions. There are not only costly but also potential traumatic experience for her mother. What more concerning is that a woman experiencing depression are often disconnected from routine care instead of preventative or ongoing support. They find themselves needing urgent or crisis level interventions. This is less effective and places a greater strains on already limited healthcare resources. A major factor contributing to this pattern in the combination of stigma, provider gaps, and resources shortages, especially in low resource settings. When a mental health isn't treated with the same urgency or respect as a physical health, women are left behind. And yet, all these costs, both financial and human, could be avoided. They reflect missed opportunity for early screening, for interventions during antenatal visits, and for integrating mental health into routine maternal care. There's also an opportunity here. Digital health solutions like telehealth can bridge some of these access gaps, especially in rural or underserved areas, but only if we also work to address the broader systemic issue that prevent women from seeking or receiving care in the first place. Okay, next slide, please. And then as we look ahead, what it becomes clear is that addressing maternal mental health isn't just a recommendation, it's a necessity. To truly improve maternal outcomes, we must begin by integrating mental health care into routine prenatal services. This, this means that mental health should no longer be treated as separate or secondary. It should be part of every antenatal visit, every health record, and every maternal care conversation. But integration alone isn't enough. Screening and support must also be culturally sensitive. Mental health doesn't look the same in every community, and it certainly is not experienced the same way across cultures. So the approaches we take must honor the local context, language, and life experience of the woman we serve. Firstly, we need to equip midwives and community health workers, especially in resources limited settings, with the tools to recognize and respond to mental health needs. These are often the first and only health professionals women may interact with during pregnancy. Their rule is powerful, and with training, they can become the front-line champions of maternal mental health. Additionally, support must be ongoing. A one-time screening is not enough. Depressions, anxiety, and stress can evolve throughout pregnancy and beyond. That's why we need a long-term system of care, not just a quick fix or checklist. And finally, to truly move forward, we must close the gap between what we know and what we actually do. We already have the knowledge. Now it's time for both coordinate action from health systems, governments, and communities alike to make a maternal mental health a visible, funded, and integrated part of care. Okay, now I will hand over to Carita, who will explain the conclusions. Please, Carita.
Okay, the next slide, Fabiola.
Can you see the
The
next slide?
conclusion.
Oh, the
Yeah, the
conclusion.
next slide. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So, in conclusion, maternal mental health during pregnancy plays a critical role in shaping both maternal and newborn health outcomes. It is not enough to simply conduct screenings. Intervention must be culturally sensitive, consistent throughout the perinatal period, and fully integrated into the broader healthcare system. So this approach ensures that the care we provide is not only clinically effective, but also relevant and respectful of diverse cultural contexts. More importantly, investing in maternal mental health is not just the right thing to do ethnically. It is a smart strategic move. By doing so, we help build stronger, healthier, and more resilient communities that benefit not only today's families, but also future generations. Next slide. Okay, so everyone, I want to leave you with this simple but powerful thought. Supporting maternal mental health isn't just about care, it is about creating a legacy. Every mother we support today is a seed of strength for tomorrow. Together, let's make sure that every pregnancy becomes the foundation of a healthier, stronger generation. Because when we care for mothers, we shape the future. So that concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for your time and attention. We are happy to answer any question you may have. Please feel free to ask or share your thoughts. I now hand the session back to our facilitator, Fabiola. Thank you.
Okay, thank you Karita, Husnul, and Prima. It's a wonderful presentation, I think. And for all participants, if you any question, you can raise hand or drop your question in the chat. Okay. Adeline. Hi, Adeline. Okay, I will ask to unmute. Hi, Adeline. Can you hear
Okay.
my voice clearly? Yep.
Okay, am I audible?
Yep, Adeline. Hello.
Okay. Okay, thank you
Yep.
for insightful presentation. As a midwifery student, I'm deeply interested in how maternal mental health is shaped by various factors during pregnancy. I would like to ask a question to better understand the scope and implication of your research. In what ways does the mother's environment, such as living in urban versus rural areas, shape her mental health risk during pregnancy? And could you elaborate on how geographic and socio-environmental differences might affect stress level, access to care, or support system? Thank you.
Sorry, Adeline, can you please one more time repeat just the question? Thank you.
Yep, please, Adeline. Hello, Adeline. Can you repeat the question because I didn't clear your voice. Okay.
I'll repeat.
Yep.
In what ways does the mother's environment, such as living in urban versus rural areas, shape her mental health risk during pregnancy? And could you elaborate on how geographic and socio-environmental differences may affect stress levels, access to care, or support system? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your question, Adeline. Okay. Please, who will answer? Karita, Husnul, or Prima?
Okay, thank you, Kak Fabella. I think I want to answer the question. Yeah.
Okay. So please.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Adeline, for your thoughtful question. So you asked about in what ways does the mother's environment, such as living in urban versus rural areas, shape her mental health risk during pregnancy, right? So the environment where a pregnant woman lives, whether in a rural or urban setting, itu can have a significant impact on her mental health. So in rural areas, women often face limited access to healthcare facilities, right? So especially mental health services. There may be a shortage of trained professionals such as psychologists or counselors, and transportation to reach healthcare centers can be difficult. This makes it harder for women to receive early screening or treatment for mental health issues or disorders like anxiety or depression, etc. Additionally, in some rural communities, there may be strong stigma around mental health, making it less likely for women to speak openly about their struggles or seek help, right? So, on the other hand, urban environments usually offer better access to healthcare services, including mental health supports. However, they come mm, with their own set of challenges. So, urban pregnant women may be exposed to higher levels of stress due to traffic or noise, work demands, pollution, and a fast-paced lifestyle. So, while they may live closer to hospitals, the pressure of city life, lack of social connection, or living away from extended family that can increase feelings of isolation and emotional burden. So social support also plays a crucial role, right? In rural areas, ties, community and family might be stronger, right? Community and family ties might be stronger, which can be protective for mental health for the mother. So, however, if the culture discourages talking about emotional struggles, this support may not be fully utilized. In contrast, urban mothers may have access to peer support groups or online communities but might be lack direct in-person support from family or neighbors. So overall, both geographic and social factors interact in complex ways to influence a mother's mental health during pregnancy. So these differences um, highlight the importance of um, tailoring mental health intervention and antenatal care programs to the unique needs of women in different settings or geographies. I think that's the answer for the question from Adeline. Uh, I will give it back to our facilitator, Kak Fabiola. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I think it's great answer. There is a three question in the chat Zoom, and I think it's a best three question for three speakers. And maybe Husnul or Prima or Karita have to answer the question. And I will read a question from Stiarini. Hi, she is Stiani from Indonesia here. And the question is, in resource limited setting, what practical, cultural, and ethical strategies can be employed to integrate maternal mental health screening and psychosocial support into routine prenatal care, and how might these strategies be tailored to ensure they are both acceptable and accessible to diverse population of pregnant women? Okay, whose will answer? Husnul or Prima? Or Karita again? Is up. Okay. Husnul or Prima or Karita, who will answer the question? From Stiani? Or maybe can you hear my voice? Husnul, Karita, and Prima?
Yep, I can hear you clearly, Fabiola.
Oh,
Kak
yeah.
Fabiola.
Sorry. Who will answer?
Okay.
Prima.
Kak Prima or Husnul, do you
Oh,
guys
maybe
want to
I
answer
will.
or yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I will
Thank
answer,
you.
but in Indonesia, can I? Because maybe I will if
Sure.
I explain in English, maybe not
Sure.
explainable. Can
Sure.
I?
It's okay.
Sure.
It's
Jadi
okay.
mohon maaf teman-teman dan semua. Tadi ada pertanyaan dari Bu Stiarini bahwa eh, apa yang bisa kita lakukan gitu ya. Pada dasarnya bahwa apabila di lingkungan yang dengan keterbatasan sumber daya, strategi praktis, budaya, dan etika, apa yang dapat digunakan untuk mengintegrasikan pemeriksaan kesehatan mental ibu dan dukungan psikososial ke dalam perawatan prenatal rutin, dan bagaimana strategi ini dapat disesuaikan untuk memastikan bahwa strategi tersebut dapat diterima dan dapat diakses oleh berbagai populasi wanita hamil gitu ya. Seperti yang sudah kita terapkan di Indonesia mungkin ya, di negara kami, bahwa yang pertama adalah mungkin adanya ini apa namanya screening atau screening awal pada pemeriksaan fisik. Selain pemeriksaan fisik juga kita harus melakukan screening pemeriksaan psikologis. Jadi pada saat ibu hamil melaksanakan ANC, tentu saja screening awal pemeriksaan psikologis ibu perlu diterapkan, dan ini sudah harus menjadi kebijakan atau diterapkan di seluruh wilayah, di seluruh daerah gitu ya, baik di daerah yang apa namanya susah akses maupun yang di daerah perkotaan, karena ibu hamil tentu saja selama menjalani masa kehamilannya tentu akan mengalami banyak sekali perubahan baik fisiologis maupun psikologis gitu, dan untuk meminimalisir perubahan psikologis yang secara fisiologis, secara natural terjadi pada ibu hamil, kita memerlukan adanya screening atau deteksi dini awal apakah ada apa namanya kelainan atau mungkin penyimpangan psikologis selain dari yang naturally atau fisiologisnya yang dialami seorang ibu hamil tersebut. Karena apabila tidak tertangani sejak dari awal, maka akan memperburuk keadaan ibu hamil maupun nanti keluarannya pada saat ibu melahirkan. Mungkin seperti itu. Jadi yang perlu kita tekankan adalah mulai dengan menerapkan screening awal atau deteksi kelainan atau keadaan atau gangguan mental atau gangguan psikologis pada ibu hamil. Begitu Kak Febila. Terima kasih untuk translatingnya.
Okay, thank you, Prima. And Setiani from Indonesia. Maybe you can understand the answer of Prima, but I will help to translate in English because the audience is all around the world. Okay. Okay, and the answer of answer by Prima is if there is a limited environment, Prima said that there is a need for initial screening of physical and psychological examination during antenatal care, and it should be a comprehensive policy. And this early detection is done so that we can now early and minimize the risk or worst possibility. Okay. Okay, thank you, Prima, for your answer. Okay. Okay, we move to the next question. The next question from Lubika, typing from United Kingdom. Okay. I would like to know if mental health medication are encouraged to be taken by pregnant women, and if so, which medication are allowed? Karita, Husnul, and Prima, do you the answer this question? So please.
Okay, Fabiola.
Okay, Husnul.
Maybe,
Okay, so please.
maybe I want to try to answer the questions from the Lubika. So, okay, thank you for your time. And I would like to know if mental health medications are encouraged to be taken by pregnant women, and the question, and if so, which medications are allowed. So I think our mental health medications can be recommended for the pregnant woman if the benefit outweigh the risk untreated conditions such as severe depressions, anxiety disorders, and bipolar disorder, or what else? Schizophrenia, and pose a serious risk to both the mother and the fetus, including preterm birth, low birth weight, or impaired mother-infant bonding, because make an impact with the mom and the babies. So, but the recommendations is from the doctor. It's not about the in my country. It's not about the midwife skills. It's about the midwife in my country is a collaboration with the doctor and the pediatric doctor to give the medications. So, however, not all medication are safe, and doctors will choose the drugs with the lowest risk to the fetus using the minimum effective doses. Medications may be allowed. I'm sorry to be it's not wrong. It's about the I know about the selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor like flirting and sertraline, generally considered as atypical. What else? An atypical antipsychotic, or such as olanzapine or quantipine with the careful consider. And important for now, all medication must be prescribed and monitored by a doctor, particularly an obstetrician and pediatrics. Okay, mungkin.
Okay.